Hello everyone, welcome to Plymouth, Costa Rica. Teacher Luis one more time. And in this unit, we are going to be learning about using the verbs in the gerund form or in the infinitive form, depending on the main verb of the sentence, okay? This is a topic that is crucial and it's important that you understand it so that we continue improving your English in this learning process that you have. So let's get started. Let's start with what are gerunds. Now, for this specific topic where these gerunds or infinitives are going to be the second verb of the sentence, the very first thing that I want you to remember is that they are not the main verb, okay? Now, gerunds, you have seen them before when we learned about present continuous or past continuous. So remember that the gerund is the verb, but when we add the ing form, then now we have a gerund, okay? Point number two, again, they are not the main verb in the sentence for this specific topic, and they follow, that means that they are the second verb with certain verbs and also with certain prepositions, okay? So for now, just remember a gerund is the verb when we have the ing form. They are not the main verb of the sentence, and they follow a main verb in the sentence, okay? And also prepositions. So let's move on to the next slide, and then you're gonna see this into. Okay, so let's look at this example. In Spanish, I can write a sentence such as yo evito salir de noche. I have two verbs, evito y salir. That same sentence, if I write it in English, will be I avoid going out at night. Okay? So these two sentences mean exactly the same thing. If we see both of them, we have a main verb. Okay? The main verb in Spanish will be evito, and in English will be avoid. This is the main verb. The main verb is the one that we conjugate. Okay? Then we have a second verb. Right after evito in Spanish, we have salir. And in English, we have going out, okay? In Spanish, we have those second verbs always in the ending ar, ir, because the second verb is not the main verb of the sentence. The same way in English, we have going as the second verb. Now, again, this is not the same in English and in Spanish. Because you say, but my second verb is salir, and in English I have it with ing. Well, because that's the way English works. We have two options, okay, to write this type of sentence. In English, we have to avoid at all costs, always, to write something like I avoid go out at night. That second verb is never like that. It's never in the very base form without the ing or without the to. You can never have two verbs in the base form like that. You have two options. You have option one, gerund, which is the ing form, or option two, infinitive. What is an infinitive? Is to have the to plus the verb, okay? Okay, in this other slide now, we are going to talk about using gerunds after a preposition. This is important, and what I want you to remember mostly of this, maybe this video, one of the most important things are that gerunds are not only used with the present continuous tense, because sometimes when we see a verb with ing, we always think about I am eating, or in past continuous, I was eating. And that's not always the case, okay? We use the gerunds in other situations, like in the previous slide that I already explained, or if we have a preposition and then we have a verb. If we have a preposition and then afterwards we have to write a verb, then that verb has to go in the ing form. These are some expressions that have prepositions: about, of, into. All those are prepositions. And I have the example down here that says, I am sick and tired of going to school. That expression, sick and tired, es como estoy harto de ir a la escuela. So in Spanish, again, we translate like ir, but in English, the rule says if I have a preposition, then I have to use the gerund. Okay? I'm excited about flying to London. Estoy emocionado por ir o por volar a Londres. All right? So that's very important. I'm sad about failing the test. Estoy triste por haber fallado el examen. All right? That's another case in which we use the gerund form of the verb. What is the gerund form of the verb? The verb with the ing form. Infinitives. And I'm not going to overcomplicate this, because for this topic, I just want you to understand that in every sentence, you have a main verb. And then in some situations, in some cases, you're going to have a second verb. Okay? What I want you to remember is that that second verb is never going to be the base form. It has to be either the gerund or an infinitive. What is an infinitive? The infinitive are formed by adding the to and the base verb of the base form of the verb. For example, to eat, to walk, to run. That's an infinitive, okay? And again, they are not the main verb in the sentence, and they are also used after certain main verbs. I already showed you some of the verbs that ask you to use a gerund in front of them. The same way, there are some verbs that are going to ask you to use an infinitive in front of them. One example is want. In this sentence that I have in here, I want to write. The verb want tells me if you're going to use a second verb in front of me, put the infinitive. That means write to, write. Okay? So what is it that I don't want you to do? I don't want you to say, I want write. That is not acceptable. All right? So the same way, I have this list of verbs that ask me to use an infinitive in front of them. Agree, be sure, choose, decide, expect, hope, learn, would like. Every time one of these verbs is the main verb of your sentence, you have to, and you're going to use a second verb right afterwards, you have to use the to plus the verb in the base form. Example, we would like to go on vacation tomorrow. What is not acceptable? We would like go on vacation tomorrow. That you don't say that. This other slide says gerunds, infinitives, and verbs. What happens? There are certain verbs that don't care that much about the second verb that you put in front of them. Some of them are like, if you write it in infinitive or if you write it in gerund form, it's fine, no problem. Examples: begin, continue, like, hate, love, prefer, start. I can say I love learning about our world, or I love to learn about our world. So the verb love is my main verb in the sentence, and the second verb is learn, aprender. The verb love doesn't really mind if you say learning or to learn, okay? That happens with some verbs. They do have a preference, like love, I would say that I would use it mostly with the ing form, with the gerund form, but it's not that the communication is going to be completely interrupted. It's not like if you tell someone, I like to go out at night, and they will say like, what? I don't understand. What are you talking about? No, I mean, people will still understand you. It's just that some of these main verbs have a preference for a second verb being in certain form, either gerund or an infinitive form, okay? Something that is not great about this is that there's no way, there's no rule. You just have to memorize these main verbs and what they like in front of them. So that's why there is a list in here in the unit that shows what verbs like to have in front of them. Do they like to have a gerund or do they like to have an infinitive form? Okay. So yeah, let's move on to the next slide. So in this slide, I have just a quick review with some of the verbs that I showed in the previous slides of the video. And what I want you to just to do is to pause the video and just think about the second verb, if it is a gerund or if it is an infinitive. Remember, how do you know which one you have to use? First, memorize them. And second, you always have to check the main verb. The main verb is the one that decides, okay? So pause the video, make a check mark to say if it is a gerund or infinitive, then continue to the next one to check if you were right. So that's everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I know this topic is like, oh, but well, it's necessary. And we're going to practice in class so that you get familiar with these main verbs, and if we have to write a gerund or an infinitive afterwards, okay? Just go ahead, complete the interactive activities in PlemGrid, and then we're gonna practice more of these during our next session, okay? Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.